strongly called to share. It's actually kind of a hard video for me to make. Definitely gonna be getting into like sharing some of the aspects of my gifts that I don't normally share, especially, you know, with anyone I'm not 100% confident like has their own understanding in psychic gifts. So I feel, you know, that we even have like a level playing field to communicate on. But I did receive a really, really important message. And like I said, it was strongly called to share it. So this video is focused on the ancestral healing aspect of the twin flame journey. So the twin flame journey is a journey of unconditional love. And I have received years ago the awareness that I was brought here for like above all things, my mission was to heal my ancestry, heal that trauma in the DNA, and to stop the like spreading of the disease. Basically, it's like a spiritual disease, this karma, and to heal that. And basically, through the work I've been doing on this journey, it was revealed to me that that is not just my core purpose. It is intrinsically tied to the twin flame journey. So where I was at on this journey when this message came through was like not for the first time, but very surprising at this point. Just an intense level of frustration. So if you have been following the journey online, the twin flame journey, you've definitely heard the same messages over and over and over and over from readers all across the world, again and again. Do the work, self-healing, do the work, self-healing, do the work, self-healing. So, you know, I'm getting the same messages, so I'm doing the work to heal myself, doing the work to heal myself, forgiveness work, doing the work, heal myself. And so at a certain point, you get a bit frustrated and you're like, for me, it has just been like a super short cycle, just like spinning so fast. Like when you think of cycles, usually it's like a year, summer, spring, and you know, just larger cycles. But this has been so fast, and it'll just keep cycling through like love, anger, betrayal, fear, frustration, love, like, and it just goes round and round and round. So whenever I get back to love, I'm like, cool, awesome, okay, we're done with this whole whatever that was. Big tick for me, gold star, healing work up the wazoo, self-work for days, literally. And then, bam, get hit with another wave of anger. And it's just like, God damn it, I'm so over this. What the hell is going on? And so when I was sitting down to do my readings, it was kind of like the cards were making a joke of it, or not the cards, but you know, it was basically just kept coming through as go within, ancestral healing, go within, ancestral healing. I'm like, come on, you guys, like, come on. I am just a person and I am at my wit's end with this. Like, I am still needing to show up in the physical world and actually live a normal life, like clean my house and water the garden and see my friends and go to work. Like, this is too much, you know, it's just too much. And I'm so frustrated. Like, what is standing between me and peace of mind right now? Because I have, in this healing journey, been able to get back to places of joy and loving connection and all these things. So like, it's the peace of mind that I haven't regained or sustained. And so I was like, you know, I'm over it. I'm not sitting down to do another meditation. I'm not lifting a pen to write another single thing. I'm just done. And so I was like kind of like scrolling through videos on YouTube, and these two women, I actually am gonna find the name of their channel because they're so amazing. But they are on the twin flame journey. They are in union. They have been through their runner chaser phase, and they created sorry. They created a online ministry. So I was sitting there watching their video, and I mean, I was moved to the core of my being. Like, it was so passionate, it was so genuine, it was so from a place of love, and they're preaching love, 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 love. And it just shifted something in me. That energy was very intense, and I'm gonna find the actual video for you too, and let you know what that is. Very powerful. And so something in me just shifted, and I had a flashback. So I'm gonna also explain here, like, in a psychic sense, for me, that terminology, what exactly that means for me. I'm going to share with you what the name of that YouTube channel is. It is Twin Flame Revolution. So that is the name of their channel, where they do their online ministry. And the video that I was watching is Final Stages of Twin Flame Union, in parenthesis, a must see. It is beautiful, because what they're talking about is what's been coming up for me and through many readers. But like, when it keeps coming up for you yourself, and then you hear it in a really powerful way from somebody else, there's something, you know, special that happens in that moment. So they're preaching divine union. So when they're talking about union, they're talking about divine union. Any other union is subsequent to that. And actually, through this journey, that has been the like pinpoint mistake or regret that I've had, has been allowing anyone to come between me and the divine. I personally had like, in the most serious sense, committed myself to service to God years and years and years ago, of my own volition, not through a religion of any kind, just my spirit, my free will, and my understanding of the divine. And I swore committed in that time to never letting anyone come between. I can't tell you how many people I've let come between us since then, but that was like this, just, it was like, you know, if you have a party and you have the big banner in the background, like happy birthday, all the other stuff that I had going on, that was the banner on top of everything. Like, you never let someone come in between you and God. And so they were I was watching this video, and that's what they were preaching on in such a powerful way. And it just shifted something in me. I had a flashback. So when I use the term flashback, I think of it, my father was a is a Vietnam vet. And he used to talk to me about flashbacks and how, you know, I was a very inquisitive child. So I was like, well, how's that different to a memory? And so his definition of that, and what I learned as I grew older, is completely correlates with what the experiences I have that I also call flashbacks. For me, I do believe that they are flashbacks to past lifetimes. So the difference between memory and a flashback in this sense is a memory is something you recall, whereas a flashback is something that you re-experience. So if you're having a memory of like when you were a child and your grandmother made like blackberry pie, and you're like reminiscing on that, we all know what that reminiscing feels like. If you were having a flashback to when your grandmother was making that pie, it would be as if everything just switched back to the way it was in that moment. Everything around you, every part of your environment, you can smell everything, you can hear all the little details and sounds like you would in a room, like, oh, the kettle's going, and you know, there's birds outside or whatever. You can feel the temperature of the room, like you're there in that moment. You are like transported back into that moment. So I had this flashback and it was a stream of flashes. So not that fast. It was like projected into this moment long enough to like be aware of what was happening. A lot of feelings, and then into the next moment. And these flashbacks were in my Native American heritage, my Native American bloodline and ancestry. And those flashes of flashbacks that I had, that sequence of flashbacks that I had, was similar to the way that is depicted in movies when they say, you know, my whole life flashed before my eyes in a near-death experience. Similar to that. So you could see, like, I could tell the progression of what was happening, because these flashbacks were happening at different points in time. But I could see, like, a story, you know, big gaps in between, but like next scene, or like a comic book, you know, like it's not all of that story in between, but you understand what's going on. And so what was going on was genocide, and what I was feeling was a lot, and I've picked up on these things before, but there was something about it this time that was just, I guess just the fact that I had the context to link it to this journey, and my understanding at this time is that hard to put into words. So I had a lot of downloads while I was with my divine my divine masculine. And so, yeah, I received a lot of information, and not most of it, a lot of it, because I was so deeply in love, I didn't take very seriously. I didn't look at it with a sense of seriousness. I looked at it like it was kind of funny, because the experience that I was having with that person at the time was in an energy of divine union. And so what information I was receiving about what was to come and what the grand purpose of this journey was. I couldn't really appreciate it. I couldn't relate to it because it was so like far away from what I was experiencing at the time. But one of the things that kept coming through was John Smith and Pocahontas. It kept coming through like if we've loved each other in other lifetimes, we've been whatever real life version of that existed for sure. Like that is the entire dynamic, in the sense of like he comes from a completely different world to me, a completely different world where it's like alien almost, and like vice versa, both ways. Like my world has existed completely outside of his awareness, or almost completely outside of his awareness. And his world, although I've been aware that that's a thing that exists, it's nothing I've chosen into enough to have my own experiences of it beyond anything that was just happenstance. And I never understood that world, and I never wanted to explore it further, immerse myself in it. I was always drawn to the path of the gypsy and the seeker. So I've spent most of my life moving around, just meeting, connecting with, learning from, healing, teaching people from all over the world, going through all kinds of different things and having all kinds of life-changing experiences with them ongoingly, immersed in mysticism, and I'm a psychic. I've been in my awareness of that since I was a small child. So I've very much lived my own life kind of in my own way, in my own world, and that's afforded me a lot of freedom as far as who I choose to be, where I choose to go. I was determined not to commit to anything. My divine masculine comes from the opposite world, where you're in almost like an indentured slave to society's expectations. Like there's no severing from that. The belief systems, the expectations, it's totally foreign to me. I don't know what it is to live in that world as a part of it. I've been in like different, expressions of that, and it's just like me kicking and screaming the whole way, where everybody's like, can you just stop being you and act like everybody else and just go along with the program? And I'm like, over my dead body, I will not. I'd rather not be a part of it at all than pretend. And it felt oppressive. It just never made sense to me. If I have to be somebody else to be a part of whatever's happening, why the would I want to be a part of it? It doesn't make sense, And so I've always done my own thing, and that's been very hard. I think when it comes to understanding between the two of us, and I'm like, total spirituality, nature girl. He's like not any of those things. And so I always just saw that John Smith, Pocahontas, and he comes into her world, and it's just like, what? Magic's a real thing, and what the heck? You talk to animals and all this kind of thing. And she's all like, you understand that, like, your people what they're coming here for is going to destroy something more sacred than they can even understand, yet alone appreciate. And he's just like oblivious, you know? And indeed, the sacred places do get desecrated. And great harm does happen in the true life story of like the here I wrote all of these down in notes, so let me see. I actually want to use the words that came through because I felt like that those labels were really accurate. Okay, so here's my note. I have a strong belief based off an awareness through observation in the 3D and sensitivity, psychic gifts in which bridge to the 5D and beyond, that the ancestral healing my twin flame journey is designed and designated to heal is that of the guardians of the sacred and the explorers of the extremities. So in the Native American ancestry, that is, you know, like you know what I'm talking about, like the people who came to claim this land to make it America, and the natives. So the natives, their world was it's in the notes, so I don't know if I need to say it again twice. I might just read these. I've had a great revelation. Oh, gotta circle back. Because I'm just gonna quickly mention it here and then I'm gonna make another video about this. But apocalypse is what's happening right now. We are in the apocalypse. And one of my biggest gripes with the Bible, or not the Bible, but people's interpretation of the Bible is how literal they take it. Like, it's insane. It's just beyond my comprehension. But if you don't take it literal, there's actually a lot of information in there. And so apocalypse, people mostly just know as the end of the world. But actually, what the word apocalypse means is a great revelation. So what all of us are doing on our individual journeys of self-discovery and self-healing, you can't heal things within yourself until you've discovered them. So through this journey of self-discovery and self-healing, we are coming face to face and ever clearer in our perception of the divine and the ego, God, devil. And the great revelation is, you know, unique to each of us. It's all going to circle back to divine union in the end. But however we get there is each, you know, specific to us. But on a global scale, it is materialism versus spirituality. And if you see around the world at some of the events that are happening, like the vibe that I've been getting in a very big way is like, as I feel all these people waking up and raising the vibration, you know, the yin to the yang rises up to combat it. And it is the final battle, and it's happening within us, and it's being, you know, projected into this 3D perception and awareness, but it's coming from within us. We're having our own internal battle, our own final battle, Judgment Day. And that Judgment Day is not the omnipresent whole God judging all of us. From my belief and my understanding, we all have a part of God in us. So while that part of God is in each of us individually, it's not moving as a whole. So that God is not whole there to judge us. The final judgment is ours. That's why we have free will, because we have a piece of the divine, creative life force, God, inside of us. That there's nothing more powerful than that. That's why we have the power of free will. The final judgment is ours. Do we choose ego, devil, or do we choose intuition, God? And if you look at those passages, that section of the Bible, you will be able to link it up very much to that internal battle. And if you follow like Zen Buddhism or yoga, Hindu belief systems and things like that, you will be able to link it up very, very easily. So that's like the great revelation that I've had. So this was guided by the divine and helped integrated and processed by my spirit guides, my ancestors. Throughout my life, I've had information regarding past lives, incarnations, ancestral history. Along my spiritual journey, they have become more frequent, and my ability to comprehend them has become far more profound. I think I'm just talking about things I've already said, so let me skip ahead. So this was very triggering, this experience that I had. It was so emotionally overwhelming, and it's not the first of the kind that I've had, and it's such a difficult experience to go through. Kind of, it's hard to find anyone to really feel like you can relate to. I have many other friends who have psychic gifts, and to this point I haven't had anyone share with me in any depth this kind of past life flashbacks. The nature of the flashback is, it's not just every aspect of what's happening in that environment that you re-experience, it's every feeling. And what I fell into was devastating. It was devastating. It was overwhelming. It's like looking around you, and everywhere you see, it's like your entire life was built in dedication to the divine, dedication to each other, dedication to every living thing, dedication to harmony. And then you have this force come in, these other humans. Yes, they're strange and you don't know anything about them, but that you know that they're people, and they come in and they just wreck everything, and they are so hedonistic and brutal, and they are just destroying, like, with just such just so obnoxious, so ignorant, so lacking compassion, and just destroying everything, and like harming people in the most awful ways, but like not even aware that they were tearing apart societies that have been in dedication to the most highest energy and purpose for generations, and they just came in and destroyed it. And like, I felt that I was sitting back and taking it in as an elder, as a woman, and looking around, like, of course we have that feminine protective energy. To experience something like that as an elder, as a woman in the Native American tradition, you are a seer, you are a protector of the spiritual wellness of the tribe. So to be in a position where you're watching all this go down, feeling such an obligation to take care of all these people, to bring some kind of healing, like, and you're powerful, you know that you're powerful, what would you do? And I felt this in my other genetic lines as well, African American, Scottish, Irish. I've had flashbacks from those different lines as well. And it's so overwhelming. It's like, you know, they talk about fight or flight. When you have been, when you have experienced yourself in life as a powerful energy worker, and you experience that kind of trauma and that kind of betrayal, because don't forget that in every case they helped them in the first place and tried to help. They tried to receive them and welcome them in, and were turned on. But even beyond that, in the cases where they didn't, that's one human being to another. That is, you know, it just goes against God to seek to harm another human being, especially for selfish reasons. So that level of betrayal was felt in all of those flashbacks and those different lines. And basically it came through to me that in that moment, that was just a depiction of one person's point of view and experience of that, but it was representative of what brought down that karma through the lineages. In that moment, I feel like up until that very moment of her looking around, she was in absolute dedication to the divine, absolute faith, working in faith and spirituality and becoming powerful throughout a lifetime will do that to you. You have a great commitment and devotion to the Great Spirit. And in that moment, she splintered from God, because she in that moment saw those people who were bringing in all that destruction as them, and the ones who were the natives who were, you know, being set upon as us. As soon as her spirit moved into a space of it's us and them, she splintered from God. Up until that moment, she was a lover of all things, mother to all things, devotee to all life things as they are some expression of God. But in that moment, the tragedy was so overwhelming, and she felt so called to do something that in that moment, her mind said, you have to protect all of this. You have to protect your traditions. You have to protect your people. You have to protect this land. And in order to get into a space of making a plan to protect this, she had to see it as separate from that. She did not see it from the perspective of, we're all in this together. I cannot protect my people without including these people in my blessing. They need the blessing more than anybody. My people are devoted to this life path, you know, if anyone needs my spiritual gifts, it's these people. And it's for all of us. But in that splintering from like that choice of us and them, she splintered from God, because God is all things and God loves us all equally. And when you're looking at it as from the point of view of we all have a piece of God in us, and the physical 3D world is just what our dreams are to us, is what the 3D world is in the grand scheme of things. It's just a space for us to express things. And in this paradigm, we express our souls as people in lifespans, on certain journeys and having certain experiences. But we're all one God, looking at ourselves from many different eyes. I can do more videos on how that all works. It's very complicated. It's actually taken me years to even find any words that actually even begin to explain it. So that's a whole nother video. But basically that was the big moment. So I wrote here, through this journey, it has not escaped my attention that betrayal was a key focus for healing for me. That's what I felt in that moment, as, you know, being projected into that flashback experience. I have felt emotionally identical to that on this twin flame journey. Overwhelming, to say the least. I have been aware that this is connected to ancestral healing, specifically inhumane human rights violations such as genocide, slavery, and conquests. Not until I had this recent flashback did it all click into place. Well, this is just explaining what I was just saying. So then I went to say the betrayal, the disgust at what I can only describe as desecration, while strongly believing the people who were doing this were completely unaware of their sacrilege. They were just completely ignorant. The immeasurable grief was so overwhelming. And anger. First, in offense, like this is such a great offense to what we held dear. And second, in feeling powerless to stop it, as guided to offer no resistance to this affront other than to dwell in divine union and holy communion. So that came through too. That feeling of powerlessness has been the last choking grip of my ego on me, of like, after everything that I have been through on my journey, that's been the thing that held on and held me back to the last second, has been that feeling of powerlessness. And when I had that flashback, she was guided to do nothing, not in a sense of nothing, but to not rise up and not act out against these invaders. That is very, 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 very hard guidance to follow when you're seeing children being killed and like important people within your community being killed, abused, and like just everything being destroyed. And so you feel like you have to do something. You can't just sit on your hands. But what she was being guided to do as a spiritual leader, what the people were being guided to do, was to take everything that they knew, every tool that they had to connect with God and call in God's power, to do God's bidding and have faith